this new institution as the sole and legitimate representative of the Libyan people.
These are diplomatic moves, so what does it mean?
Well, it means that the Libyan regime will be isolated even further. And secondly, that these governments will be talking to the new institutions in Benghazi and maybe offering more support on different fronts, because nothing has been said yet. But at least this new authority in Benghazi is seen to be the sole and legitimate representative of the Libyan people.
You know, over the past few days, we've been hearing many reports, some of it speculation, that Colonel Gaddafi wants to negotiate an exit strategy, some means whereby he could leave Libya, keep his wealth, and not be prosecuted for any kind of crimes. Is that option, is that now lessening?
Well, I don't think it will ever happen, because I don't think that okay, there has been a lot of talk about negotiations, and indeed Gaddafi sent some of his representatives to Benghazi to talk about negotiating. But him leaving Libya, I'm not too sure it will ever happen, because he's very stubborn. He thinks that he made Libya, Libya is him, and him is Libya. Secondly, even though a deal might be struck about not punishing Gaddafi for the atrocities he's committed, I don't think it's up to this new authority to do so. He may be pursued at a later stage, given what happened. History showed cases in Latin America, for instance, where certain leaders have negotiated impunity, but they were tried at a later stage. I think that Gaddafi will never escape international prosecution for what he did.
Now, as you pointed out, he is Libya. You say Libya made him. As this battle rages on and they mount this counter-offensive against the rebels, who's calling the shots in Tripoli? Would it be Colonel Gaddafi?
Well, it will be Colonel Gaddafi, but also there will be some of his sons, because Gaddafi is almost 70 now, and basically some of his children, especially Saif al-Islam, Khamis and al-Mu'tasim, are the ones calling the shots, with some consultation with the father. But I think that Gaddafi's future is behind him, and now it's up to his children to carry on.
Okay, Professor, let's leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thanks.
In the United States, a senior Republican congressman is launching a hearing later into what he describes as a rise in violent extremism in the United States. It will focus on American Muslims and whether they've become, quote, radicalized. Kristen Salumi has more from New York.
We know the extent of the threat that we face.
Homegrown Islamic extremism. Congressman Peter King calls it a clear and present danger. He wouldn't speak to AlJazeera, but told Fox News.
This is a real threat, and I want the American people aware of it, and I want to see also what we're doing to combat it. Yeah. And also I'm calling on Muslim leaders to be more critical in denouncing it.
But American Muslims are drawing comparisons with Joseph McCarthy's infamous anti-communist hearings of the 1950s. They're joining with leaders from other faiths, calling on King to stop what they describe as a witch hunt.
Violence is not only a Muslim phenomenon, it is in every other communities, and to single out one community to say they are the one that bringing this issue or causing the problem rather than treat them as a solution is wrong. We want to be treated as partner, not as suspect.
Community leaders fear that the hearings will fuel anti-Muslim sentiment and demonstrations like this one, which took place recently at an Islamic charity event in California.
Muslims may be the target of Representative Peter King's hearings, but they're not waiting for an invitation to make their voices heard. They're speaking out with petitions and rallies like this one here in New York's Times Square to present their view of what it means to be Muslim.
We are the #1 trending topic on Twitter and on Facebook.
Celebrities have taken up the cause, standing alongside Muslim Americans even in the rain. Supporters point out that 48 out of 120 terrorist plots in the U.S. were discovered thanks to tips from the Muslim community.
Just because you have the right to build a mosque.
King counters with his own figures. He claims radical imams control more than 80% of American mosques. The New York congressman has his own complicated history with regards to political extremism. He defended the use of violence in civilian settings by the Irish Republican Army in the 1980s, and once compared the leader of the group's political wing to George Washington. His critics say he should understand better than anyone that radicalism isn't unique to any one culture.
This is the message that we want to say to Congressman King. Let this be hearings against terrorism, against extremism, against radicalism, and how it comes about, and not make it hearings against Islam and Muslim organizations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank
King shows no sign of backing down. Thursday is expected to be the first of a series of hearings. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, New York.
An earthquake hit a remote area of southwest China, killing at least 21 people and injuring more than 150 others. The epicenter of the 5.8 magnitude quake was southwest of Dali town in Yunnan province. Many houses and buildings are reported to have collapsed. An empty train has slipped off its tracks in Australia and crashed into a building. The train overshot a stop at the end of a railway in Melbourne City and ploughed through the front of the small bank late on Wednesday. No passengers were on board at the time and the driver walked away unharmed. In Côte d'Ivoire, disputed President Laurent Gbagbo has ordered the cocoa industry to get back to work. He's told them to resume exporting cocoa or their stock will be seized. The country is the world's leading cocoa producer, accounting for 40% of global supply. An export ban was imposed in January by Alassane Ouattara, the internationally recognized winner of November's presidential vote. The ban was aimed at cutting funding to Gbagbo, who is refusing to step down. Al Jazeera's Mohamed Edo has this update from Abidjan.
There is a lot of confusion in the cocoa industry here in Ivory Coast. There are parallel decrees being issued by both men who are claiming the presidency. Alassane Ouattara says, export that cocoa at your own peril. And he's telling this to the exporters. Gbagbo is saying, if you do not export, I will seize your cocoa and nationalize it. And all this now is creating so much confusion. We've been to some suburbs of the capital, Abidjan, where there are cocoa farmers. And what they've been telling us is that they are confused, they don't know what to do. And they also talk about illegal cartels coming in to take advantage of the situation and trying to take their crop at throwaway prices. And they're saying they better take it into their stores and keep it for the situation to get better rather than sell it at a sell-away price, or follow the decrees that both men have been issuing.
The Italian cabinet has adopted a controversial draft bill to overhaul the justice system. It comes as Silvio Berlusconi, who's just recovering from jaw surgery, faces trials for corruption and allegedly having sex with an underage prostitute. Critics say the reforms are aimed at protecting him from the new law and getting revenge on the judges who've pursued him for decades. Forbes magazine has published its annual tally of the world's richest people. The number of billionaires grew by 199 to more than 1,200 people. Mexican telecom magnate Carlos Slim remains the world's richest person, extending his lead over Microsoft's Bill Gates. But the real surprises have come from the developing world. Azar Sukri explains.
The US and Europe might be struggling with record debts and sluggish economies, but it's a very different story in Asia and Latin America. Growth in the developing world is red hot. That's creating billions of dollars in wealth. And according to Forbes magazine's latest annual survey, it's the Asia Pacific that saw the biggest boom.
And so what this underscores is that there is dynamism in the world economy, but it's not in the United States and it's not in Western Europe.
According to Forbes, the Asia Pacific saw an almost 40% increase in the number of billionaires. China nearly doubled its figure to 115. Asia's richest newcomer to the list is Li Li,